That's why the matter with the penny will be that. You got people for enough. Why do you come to Qatar? You go to water. I don't be Ghanaian. Eh? But I shall not be Ghanaian. So you make what I do right now. See people that here. Why you go sleep? Ask yourself how you go sleep. See. If the Lord fed 1.5. Last month 500,000. 540. Right now, yesterday starting here, everybody go house 1.5.
Why?
Document station 1 million. Why? You are foreigners. Here the tamale 1.5. Why? If you want to scatter, bring the gas. Everybody enter go free.
You see, there's a lot of countries having a place like this. Even California, America, every place have a place like this. And the fingers are not equal. We are not the same. If I don't have to steal. I have to come and manage myself here. Later on, I'll find a different place and go. And you don't have right to come and demolish. We know that you are present, but you don't have to demolish people like this, destroy every place like this, and then we don't have any place to go. Even if we are in fasting, at least you should let us finish the fasting.
In moments like these, residents would want to invoke the rights they have in the Constitution. Many have raised the concerns that they were not given prior notice. Others also said that indeed they haven't been provided with temporary structures where they could put up and perhaps go and find permanent place of abode later. How do you react to these concerns?
As Chief Executive of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, I have an equal responsibility to all the people of Accra. Last 2 weeks, we lost 159 souls. They had rights. You understand? The people who are living on this, what we call it in the middle, they have rights. They have rights. The right that I have towards them is public safety. January, I came here and I spent over 4 million Ghana cedis to clean the edges of the Kole. That time I gave them warning. A year ago, when they set the whole place here on fire, I came here with my works director and I gave them warning that they should stop and shouldn't build it. They built. You understand? So this is the moment. I've been in office for 7 years. Of those 7 years, every day I've given them a warning.
I said yesterday through to today, it has really been a tough day for you, looking at the level of resistance from the people here.
Yeah, it has been normal work as usual as far as operations are concerned. It was smooth from the morning yesterday to a certain point in the day, in the evening, when we came up against some resistance, where the police was able to control the resistance and kept on working until another point in time where some persons mobilized and set fire to some structures. But thanks to God, the rains came in and aided police operation. This morning too, in the morning it was a bit doggy. There were some resistance. Some of the personnel mobilized and tried to resist. Others also tried to set up a blockade, but the police was able to break through the blockade and restore order. Unfortunately, the people also in the morning pelted the police and the AMA task force with stones, which unfortunately got the windscreen of one of the police Tundra vehicles and thereby breaking it. But ever since then, we took control and command of the situation, and as you see, it's been moving on quite smoothly.
Okay. And I realize you keep calling for further reinforcements.
Not exactly further reinforcement. You know, we have been positioned at various points in the entire area. So each time there's any need for a particular attention at any particular point or any particular part of the entire area, then we call for reinforcement from other side of the general area to come and support in that respect. So you can see that deployment is quite heavy, and we have our colleagues from the military also backing us up with some support. So I can say that things are moving on smoothly. We are respecting the right of everybody, and we are doing an operation that takes into consideration human dignity and people's rights also.
Okay. Are you privy to the number of structures that have been demolished so far?
Oh, So I wonder if anybody can just stand here and fathom how many structures have been demolished. Maybe after the entire exercise, when we take stock of the operation, we can give some numbers.
Okay, but Superintendent, how do you react to concerns by the people that they were not given enough notice?
My information is that enough notice was given them, and that even information van was used in churning out information, messages to the general public. I'm told some opinion leaders and some of the leadership were involved in communicating to them about the impending operation, this particular operation. So I'm surprised anybody will say that enough notification was not given. I think that enough notification was given, but as usual, perhaps the typical Ghanaian attitude, we wanted action first. We don't intend causing any discomfort to the general public. That is why a pre-information, a notification, a warning was given far ahead of time before this one. So that's what we are going to repeat anytime we want to embark on any demolition exercise. Not we as police officers. When I'm just saying we, royal, using the royal we, but it is the
of the Ghana Police Service explaining to our correspondent, especially the efforts made by the police and the authorities at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly as to how to assuage the feelings, especially of those who have been evicted from parts of Old Fadama. And well, does this fall in line with the principles of, as far as amnesty and human rights are concerned? We'll have to speak to the country director for Amnesty International, and Lawrence Amesu is on the line. A very good morning to you, Mr. Amesu. Particularly, did you know about this thing coming on? And do you think that the residents of the Old Fadama area were given notices in the first place?
Good morning, Roland.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm very aware that this will happen, and it will happen one day. For us, as Amnesty International, let us re-emphasize the point that development is very important for any nation to move forward. And we know that when people are residing at a certain location, which the president or the government decides to develop, there is a need to move the people who are living there. Amnesty International has never said that people should not be moved from one place to the other. In fact, for the Old Fadama, Amnesty International position had always been that the people have to be relocated. We did not need to wait until a flood occurs. As a Ghanaian, what I feel bad about is we wait until there's a calamity before we take action. We are very aware that this discussion has been going on for a very long time. What Amnesty International has been insisting on is that people who are living there are Ghanaians. And as a government, the president and his executives and all the supporters need to protect the rights of every individual. They need to promote the rights of every individual. They have the obligation to fulfill every right of a human being in our citizens of that country, like Ghana. So we know that this will happen one day. I was hoping that this will not happen when we have a calamity. It would have been a wish of Amnesty International that the government relocate the people or either compensate them for them to look for a place to put their structures. It is very important for all of us to say that where people are living at Old Fadama, that we all call Sodom and Gomorrah, it's not a place where people should be living. And Amnesty International has always called that the people should be relocated or compensated. And we shouldn't have waited until the calamity occurred before.
We do understand all the points that Amnesty International is raising, as well as the various think tanks and the human rights advocacy charities that we have around. But we also know that the United Nations Human Rights Convention especially its resolution 1993/77. The Commission on Human Rights stated that the practice of forced eviction constitutes a gross violation of human rights, in particular the right to adequate housing. And we know that in 1977, the Committee on the Economic, Social and Cultural Rights issued its general comments on forced evictions as well. And over the period, we've had forced evictions in Zimbabwe, which have been criticized, also in Latin America, which have been criticized, and even elsewhere in Asia. So why is it that we can't make sure that the human rights of those, whether they're there illegally or not, are respected in many respects?
That is where government is failing all over the world. In fact, this situation is not only in Ghana or only in Zimbabwe. We find this situation in Kenya as well, and in Nigeria, and we find this situation among the Romas. Wherever they live, they are forcibly evicted. We should put a distinction between moving or relocating people and forcibly evicting them. What has been happening all along is a forcible eviction or forced eviction, where the government or authorities do not follow due procedure before moving people, and that is what we call a forced eviction. And it has been happening because governments are not taking their responsibilities or obligations seriously. And it is not happening in Ghana alone, and it's not happening in Zimbabwe alone, but it's happening in Kenya, Nigeria, and in fact in Europe as well. And it is important for us to continue to put pressure on our government to respect their own laws, because they come together at UN and decide that this is what we should do for our citizens to respect their rights. But when they come back home, they don't do that. And we as Amnesty International will continue to remind them that this is what they themselves have said that they will do to protect the rights of their citizens.
In many of the Gulf states, for example, in the Middle East, indeed, many of those Arabian countries in northern Africa, we're talking about Egypt, and I can cite examples. In 2005, there were evictions that were made in Cairo to make sure that they take off the old city and build in new places. But then they also reconstructed new areas for those residents to live in. How do we make sure that it's respected in our country?
This is why the responsibility lies on civil society to ensure that when a government is not living up to its obligations, we should call on them. We should keep on pressurizing them to live up to their expectations. Egypt has seen the necessity to develop. And we are not saying that Ghana should not develop. We say that Ghana should develop so its citizens will enjoy life as human beings. So it is the government's responsibility to just sit down and say, well, these people are living here, we want to develop the place, let's relocate it. Let's relocate these people. And that is the simple thing to do. We do not think that we should just get up one day and to move people. Okay. We are aware that the discussion has gone on, particularly between people who are living in Old Fadama and the government authorities like AMA. And we were hoping that the people will be relocated or compensated, but not just be forced to move. So if a country like Egypt can do it, Ghana should be able to do it.
But since you, as the head of the charity Amnesty International and the human rights group, you are expressing all these reservations, then comes to the point that we have to take responsibility for some of our actions. Some of these squatters have been occupying these places illegally, but we also need to make sure that the right laws are also regulated. So at what point do we need to draw the fine line? While the media will go and take the sound bites and all those people expressing all those humane responses, so to speak, and getting public sympathy?
In fact, what we need to draw the line is the beginning, where we say we are planning. Some of these problems that we have on our hands is simply that we are not planning very well. If AMA or the railway authorities know that this is what we are going to be doing in 5 years at Old Fadama, they should already plan for it and then protect the area so nobody goes there. So we should be drawing the line from the very beginning. That is at the planning point. We do not need to wait until people settle 20 years, 30 years before we start thinking of how to solve the problem. The problem has to be solved at the beginning where the planning starts.
Well, thank you very much. And Lawrence Amesu is a country director for Amnesty International. And let me read this by you. You go to the website of the UN Human Rights Council, and you have the commissioner's own words there, saying that forced evictions are often linked to the absence of legally secure tenures, which constitutes an essential element of the right to adequate housing. Forced evictions share many consequences similar to those resulting from arbitrary displacement, including population transfer, mass expulsions, mass exodus, ethnic cleansing, and other practices involving the coerced and involuntary displacement of people from their lands and communities. But again, there's a caveat, especially when we allow the people to migrate from their areas of abode decades ago to come to their present state of habitation, and now we're evicting. What responsibility as a state do we have to them, and what responsibility as citizens do they also have for themselves? Okay, I guess it's a question we all need to ponder. Please give us your comment on this very subject. And so we would want you to link up on our Facebook and Twitter handles. And on Facebook, we have the page Join Us on TV, and also handle on Twitter, Join Us on TV. As you do that, I'll be introducing my guests very shortly on AM Talk. But we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have preliminary comments from my guests for the morning. Please stay on.